The sky was red. The ground was black. The air was full of smoke. A small alien girl sat alone near a broken spaceship. Her skin was soft purple. Her eyes were big and silver. She was only 6 years old. She was scared. She was crying her name. Was Lyra Tar people had come in peace. They were not fighters. They had no weapons. They were traveling across space when their ship was hit by something strange. It was a trap. They crashed on this planet. A dark, dead place. At first, Lyra thought help would come. But no one came. Then the monsters appeared. Big, tall creatures. With sharp arms, glowing eyes, and no faces. They came from the forest. They didn't talk. They didn't stop. They killed everything Lyra's parents told her to hide. They gave her a small energy stone and pushed her into a metal box. She stayed there for hours. She heard the screams. She heard the growls. Then, silence. When she came out, everyone was gone. Lyra walked slowly over the black soil. The sky. Above her, cracked with red lightning. The trees around her were twisted and dry, like bones. The air was hot and heavy. She called out, "Mama, Papa." No answer. Her small feet were bleeding. Her hands shook. She had not eaten in 2 days. Her clothes were torn. She reached the top of a hill. From there, she saw the full crash site. Broken metal, burned bodies, and shadows moving near the trees. Monsters still hunted below. Lyra fell to her knees. She was alone, left to die. But then, she heard a sound. Click, clack, footsteps. She turned fast. Her heart beat fast. She crawled behind a rock. She held her breath. A tall figure appeared from the smoke. Not a monster. Not from her ship. A human. He was wearing a metal suit. His face was hidden behind a dark helmet. I held a long weapon in his hands. He looked around like he was ready to fight. Lyra had never seen a human before. Her people only heard stories. Stories that said humans were dangerous, wild. Some said they ate other beings. Lyra stayed hidden. She did not trust him. The human stopped walking. He turned his head as if he knew someone was watching. Slowly, he spoke. Double quotes, ... "I don't want to hurt you," he said. His voice deep through the helmet. Lyra didn't understand the words, but his voice was not angry. The man reached into his pack. He pulled out a small food bar. He placed it on the ground and stepped back. Then he waited. Lyra was so hungry. Her stomach hurt. She looked at the food, then at him, then the food again. Slowly, she stepped out, shaking, watching him carefully. She picked up the food, smelled it, took a bite. Her eyes grew wide. It was sweet. It was soft. It was the best thing she ever tasted. The human sat down on a rock nearby. He removed his helmet. T's face was tired, dirty. His beard was rough. But his eyes were kind. "I'm Jack," he said slowly, pointing to himself. Jack. Lyra looked at him. She pointed to herself. ... Lyra. Jack gave a small smile. "Okay, Lyra, let's get you out of here." But before they could move Rayara, a loud roar shook the air. Jack jumped to his feet. His gun pointed to the trees. A monster appeared, 10 feet tall, sharp claws, glowing red eyes. Lyra screamed. Jack stood between her and the beast. "Stay behind me," he shouted. The monster charged. Jack fired. Bright light from the gun hit the beast, but it didn't stop. Jack kept shooting, moving back slowly. The ground shook. The monster screamed. Again, Jack pulled a small bomb from his belt. Through it, it exploded with a flash. Smoke filled the air. When it cleared, the monster was gone. For now, Jack turned to Lyra. "We can't stay here. More will come. Lyra nodded, still shaking. She didn't understand all the words. But she understood one thing: she was not alone anymore. Asterisk smoke rose slowly from the burned trees. The sky was still red, but now it was darker like blood at sunset. The strange planet stayed quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that made your skin feel cold, like something was watching. Lyra followed the human. She walked with slow steps, careful not to make noise. Her small hand held Jack's thick glove tightly. She did not know where he was taking her, but she knew one thing: wherever he was going was safer than where she had been. Jack, the human, walked fast but kept checking on her. He didn't speak much. His eyes stayed on the trees, the shadows, the sky. He moved like a soldier, always ready, always alert. But Lyra didn't understand. Why was he here? Jack had told her his name, but names meant little to her now. Her mind was full of questions. Why didn't he run from the monsters? Why was he alone? Where was his ship? She looked up at him as they walked. His armor was scratched. His boots were old. His gun was homemade. He looked like a ghost from a war that never ended. Then they reached a small cave hidden behind rocks. Jack bent down and moved a cover made of black cloth and metal. Inside, he said. Lyra crawled in. The cave was warmer than outside. There was a small heater, a water bottle, packed with supplies, some strange pictures drawn on the wall maps. Maybe Jack sat down with a tired sigh. He removed his helmet. Sweat covered his face. His eyes were heavy. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Lyra sat across from him, silent, watching Jack open a food pouch and passed it to her. She ate slowly, still unsure. He finally spoke again. I shouldn't be here. Lyra tilted her head, confused. Jack smiled sadly. You don't understand me, huh? That's okay. Maybe it's better. He looked at the fire, then began to talk. Not to her, but more like to himself. I was on a rescue ship. 2 years ago, got shot down. Only I survived. He laughed once, but it was not a happy laugh. Lucky me, right? Lyra didn't know what the words meant, but she saw his eyes. She saw pain. Jack stood up and went to the wall. He pressed a button on a device. A small screen lit up, glowing blue. A map of the planet appeared. Dots, numbers, danger zones. Jack pointed to one red circle. Monsters live here, he said. He pointed to another place. This is where your people crashed. I saw the fire in the sky. Lyra looked at the screen. She saw a blinking light. Jack noticed her looking. That's a signal. Weak. But someone is out there. Maybe your people. Her eyes grew wide. Could it be? Her mother. Her father. Jack nodded slowly. We'll check it out tomorrow, but tonight, we stay quiet. Suddenly, a sound echoed outside. Clank, clank, footsteps. Metal hitting rock. Jack grabbed his weapon and stood still. Lyra froze. He raised a hand slowly, a signal to stay hidden. Then, a voice, mechanical, cold. Target lost. Life forms detected. Beginning scan. A tall robot walked past the cave entrance. Its eyes were red. Its arms were sharp. It was not alive, but it hunted like the monsters. Lyra held her breath. Her heart pounded in her ears. The robot stopped outside. Silence. Then, scanning. The light from its eyes moved across the rocks. Closer, closer. Jack clicked something on his wrist. The heater turned off. The light dimmed. The robot turned away. Nitrogen monoxide life signs. Continuing search. It walked off into the dark. Lyra let out a small breath. She looked at Jack. He was still frozen, waiting, listening. Then he finally lowered the weapon. That wasn't one of the local monsters, he said softly. That was built by someone. That means someone is still here, controlling them. He looked down at Lyra, and they were scanning for you. Lyra's hands shook. Why would a machine look for her? She was just a child. Her people were peaceful. Jack stared into the dark. They wanted your ship to crash. This planet wasn't an accident. He sat down again, but this time he didn't close his eyes. He didn't sleep. He just stared at the cave entrance, gun ready. Outside, the red sky turned black. The stars blinked in silence. The forest moved in slow, evil whispers. And deep in the shadows, something else was waking up. The trees were breathing, not like normal trees. They moved just a little. A twitch, a shake, a slow, quiet ripple through the leaves, as if they were alive, as if they were watching. Lyra stood at the edge of the forest, her small hand in Jack's. The sky was darker now, a purple-black dome above them. The sun on this planet didn't set. It just faded, like hope. Jack scanned the woods with sharp eyes. His armor buzzed quietly. His weapon was loaded. We move fast. Sound, he said, glancing down at the alien girl. She nodded. They were not heading towards safety. They were heading into the most dangerous place on the planet. Earlier that day, Jack had found a broken drone, one of the machines from the lab. Inside its memory, one thing stood out. A signal. A heartbeat. A life sign. It was weak and far, but it was there. Lyra's people weren't all dead, at least. Not yet. The only problem, the signal came from deep inside the forest. A place where even the monsters didn't go unless they were hungry. Jack looked up at the trees again. That forest eats people alive, he whispered. Then he smiled a little. Good thing I'm not easy to chew. They moved quietly, Lyra staying close behind him. Each step felt wrong. The ground was soft. Too soft, like skin. The air smelled like wet ash and rotting fruit. Birds didn't sing here. No wind blew, but sometimes they heard breathing. Not theirs. Jack paused. A branch had moved, and it wasn't the wind. He raised his gun. Silence. Nothing. They walked again. Lyra stepped on a route. It pulled back. She gasped. Don't touch the ground too long, Jack said. Some of it bites. Lyra's eyes went wide. Hours passed. The deeper they went, the darker it got. The trees became taller, too tall. Their tops were lost in the black sky. Thick. Vines hung like ropes. Some had bones caught in them. Jack finally stopped. He put his hand up. Lyra froze. He whispered, We're being followed. She looked around. Scared monster? Shook his head. No, something smarter. Suddenly, a sharp screech cut through the air. It echoed between the trees like glass breaking in your ears. Jack pulled Lyra behind a thick trunk. 3 shapes moved fast between the tree stall. Thin, walking like shadows. Not monsters. Not robots. Hunters. They wore armor made of wood, and wall more made of wood. And wall more made of wood, and wall more made of wood. And wall more made as a luxurious texture that glides on smoothly. And leaves a rich, long-lasting color. Wall more sidely sarf. Wall more side, lock T. Wall more size. Not monsis. Not mollis. Wall more size. Mosi okay. We see with. We made it. The will of wall ways. WS. We is odd. Ev. We sand lied. A crease banask. It's coli sit. Kasikapayets ek it me seek it I collapse. Kasik of the of the goose it is it but we sit stick echo be dusted. But is a subkite but has like into but it's metal. Their faces were hidden behind masks. not human. Not her people either. Something else. One of them stopped. Its head turned slowly toward their hiding place. Jack gripped his gun tighter. It took a step closer, then stopped. Something above. It moved. A vine-dropped hand swallowed the hunter whole. The forest had claimed another life. The other two hunters didn't help. They didn't scream. They just walked away like nothing happened. Jack and Lyra didn't move. Not until the chewing stopped. Later, they reached a clearing dot in the center. A broken machine stood. It looked like a half-buried tower. Wires and metal stretched out like spider legs. At the top, a flickering blue light blinked. The signals? Coming from inside, Jack said. He stepped forward, but the ground opened under his feet. He jumped back. Barely missed, falling into a pit filled with spikes. Traps, he muttered. Of course. They searched around and found a narrow path, covered with red leaves. It led to a side door in the tower. Inside, it was quiet, cold, dusty. They stepped into what looked like an old lab. Broken tubes, glass chambers. Some still had dried blood inside. Lyra stepped toward one chamber and stopped. Inside was a small drawing. A picture, made by a child. Purple stick figures. A sun. A smile. She gasped. It's mine, she whispered. Jack looked at her. You've been here before? She nodded slowly. A voice suddenly came from the wall. A recording. Experiment 9. Subject escaped. Memory reset incomplete. Extreme danger. Not static. The message broke. Jack's eyes narrowed. They experimented on you. Lyra didn't understand all the words, but she could feel the fear in his voice. Suddenly, all lights in the tower turned red. A warning sounded. Intruders detected. Activating defense. Metal arms dropped from the ceiling. Eyes opened on the wall's machines woke up. Jack raised his weapon. Time to run. He picked up Lyra and dashed toward the back door as lasers fired. Sparks flew. Wires whipped through the air. They barely made it outside only to find the forest waiting. Again, and this time, it was moving. Asterisk, the forest didn't want them to leave. It screamed with the sound of cracking trees and ripping roots. The ground moved under their feet, like the earth itself was alive. Jack held Lyra tightly in his arms as he ran. Branches slapped against his armor. Vines tried to wrap around his legs. The red sky above flashed again and again, like lightning, but there was no thunder. Only the sound of chasing death. Behind them, the broken lab tower burned. The machines inside had woken up. Someone or something was still controlling them. Watching, they didn't stop running until they reached a dry riverbed. There, everything became still again. Too still. Jack dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Lyra slid from his arms and sat beside him, tired and quiet. She looked at the forest behind them. Why it follow us? She asked in her soft voice. Jack looked around, his eyes cold, sharp. Because someone doesn't want us learning the truth. Later that night, they camped inside a cave made of red stone. Jack placed tiny sensors near the entrance's last ones. They beeped softly, scanning for motion. He sat down, opened his backpack, and pulled out the broken drone they had found earlier. Its screen blinked once. Jack tapped the screen, rewired it, and played back an old log file. A human voice came. Through glitchy and broken, Project Echo. Success rate, 12%. Subject 9 shows memory resistance. Alien child form holds. Unusual adaptation. Testing delay recommended. Lyra looked up. She didn't understand all the words, but she heard child and alien. She pointed to herself. Jack nodded. They use this planet like a cage. A lab hidden from the rest of the galaxy. They took people like you and changed them. He showed her a picture from the file. It was blurry, but clear enough. Fit was her. Younger, sitting in a glass cell, eyes wide with fear. Lyra covered her mouth. Her hands trembled. She didn't remember that. Memory reset, Jack said. They wiped your mind, but they missed something. He reached into his pack again. This time, he pulled out a small, round device with a green light in the center. It glowed when he pointed it at her. Your body's still broadcasting a signal, he said. That's why they're hunting you. Lyra backed away, frightened. They find me, I die. Jack shook his head. No, not while I'm breathing. In the morning, Jack followed the signal again. This time, it led them to an old human facility half buried in the rocks. The doors were rusted, but they opened. With a hiss. Inside, the air was cold and dry. Dust floated like ghosts. The walls had old posters. United Earth Science Biofield Team 47. Jack stopped in front of a cracked mirror. He wiped the dust away. Behind the glass, dead bodies in white coats. Skeletons with name tags. Scientists. Some of them had claw marks. Others had melted faces. What happened here? He whispered. Lyra walked toward a glowing screen. She pressed her small hand on it without thinking. The screen changed. Access granted. Subject 9 videos started playing. One after another, Lyra hooked to machines, sleeping, crying, screaming. 1. Video showed a group of scientists arguing. She's too strong. We underestimated the hybrid bond. Her memory fights back. We need to shut it down. What? If she remembers everything. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. She didn't want to see more then. A different video played. Not from the lab. From a security camera outside, a group of peaceful aliens, her people, were standing near a crashed shuttle. Her parents were there. Alive, subject retrieval in process. Parents secured for leverage. Jack leaned forward. They're not dead, Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Her chest felt heavy. My mama, papa, they alive? Jack nodded. Yes, somewhere on this planet, and we're going to find them. Just then, the sensors on Jack's belt beeped fast. Movement, he grabbed his weapon. Pulled Lyra close and turned toward the hallway. A voice echoed from the speaker above. Hello, Subject 9. We've been waiting. Lyra screamed. Jack fired at the speaker. Sparks flew. Another voice came from deeper in the building. A whisper. Not through machines, through air. Real close. Come back to us. Jack's eyes narrowed. Run. They sprinted down the hall. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Not machines. Something heavier. Something real. They burst through a back door and ran into the wild again. But something was wrong. The sky wasn't red anymore. It was black, and stars above them had gone out. The stars were gone. Lyra stood still, staring up. The sky, once red and full of glowing lights, was now a deep black ocean with no stars, no sun, no moon. Just dark dot, she whispered. Where did they go? Jack didn't answer. He was listening. Not with his ears, he was listening with instinct. The kind that soldiers get when they've lived through too much. The forest behind them was quiet. Too quiet. Not silent like peace. Silent like a trap. They had escaped the lab, but something had followed. Not a monster. Not a machine. Something older. They walked fast now, through stone hills and dry valleys. Lyra stayed close to Jack's side. Her hand never left his. He looked. At his wrist device, the signal tracker was blinking. Weak, but still alive. This way, he said. An hour passed, then another. The landscape began to change. Strange black towers rose from the ground, not built grown, like the bones of some great creature in the middle of this strange field. They found something unexpected, a speaker pole, old, rusted, human-made. Jack walked up and tapped it. No response. But Lyra pointed to a small box at the base. It blinked. One blue light, one heartbeat. Jack opened the box. Inside was a recorder. He pressed play. A voice came through, scrambled, weak and broken. "This is Captain Reyes. If anyone's alive, don't trust the sky. They're watching. Underground. Subject 9... She's the key. They'll try to call her back. Don't. Listen, stay away from static." Then another voice. Not the same. Soft, sweet, familiar. "Lyra. Come home, little star." Lyra's eyes went wide. "Mama?" She moved closer to the speaker. The voice repeated, calm, loving, wrong. "Come home. We miss you." But Jack stepped forward and yanked the wire out. The voice died. "That's not your mother," he said. "It's a trap." Lyra looked down, hurt, but voice was soft. Jack knelt down in front of her. His voice was firm, but gentle. "Soft doesn't mean safe. The forest whispers. The machines lie. But I won't. You understand?" She nodded slowly. They followed the signal deeper into the Black Hills. Soon, the air became colder. Their breath turned white. Suddenly, they found an old crash site. Not alien. Not human. Something else. Inside, they found cages. Empty, bloodstains. Old bones. Small, thin, shaking, an alien child. An alien child, not Lyra's kind, but close. It looked up, eyes wide with fear. Jack opened the cage. Slowly. "We're not here to hurt you," he said. The alien child spoke in broken English. They take us, make us dream, make us forget. Where are the others?" Jack asked. The child pointed down below the ship. "Deep tunnels. But bad place. Mind is not yours there." Lyra touched the child's arm. "You're safe now," the alien cried. Jack gave it food and covered it in a blanket. But his eyes were still watching the shadows. That night, the dreams began. Lyra was sleeping near the campfire, wrapped in Jack's jacket, but her eyes moved under her lids. Her hands twitched. Her mind was not safe. In her dream, she walked through a silver hallway. White lights, glass walls. Her parents stood behind one window, but they didn't speak. They just stared. Behind her, a voice whispered, "You were made here, not born. You belong to us." She turned. Nothing was there. Then, she saw herself in a mirror, but the reflection was wrong. Her eyes were black. Her mouth was stitched shut. "Come back, Subject 9, the mirror said. "This time, we'll erase it all." She screamed. Jack woke up and grabbed his weapon. The forest echoed her cry. But it was just a dream, or so he thought. The scanner on his wrist was blinking fast. Now, something nearby had received a signal, a pulse. From inside Lyra, he checked her vitals. She was warm, breathing fast, but something had changed. The implant buried in her neck, the one no one had known about, had activated. Jack stared at her with worry. "They're not just following us now," he whispered. "They're calling her." Lyra opened her eyes, tears on her face. "I don't want to go back." Jack pulled her into a hug. "You're not going back, I swear. We'll shut them down. Find your parents. Burn this whole place to the ground if we have to." But in the far distance, a strange light rose from the mountains. A black ship. No engines, no fire. Just floating in silence like a ghost. It had come for her. They stood before the mountain of silence. It was not really a mountain, it just looked like one from far away. Black rock, shaped like a jagged heart. But when they got closer, Jack saw it was not natural. It was a building, buried, forgotten, swallowed by the world, and it was breathing. Lyra held Jack's hand. Her skin was cold, her eyes wide. The ship in the sky had vanished an hour ago. But they both knew, wasn't gone, 'twas watching. "This place," she whispered. "I remember the smell." The air here was thick, like old metal and blood. Jack tapped the side of the rock, hollow. He stepped back, raised his weapon, and fired a controlled burst. Bang, dash, boom. Part of the wall broke open. Behind it, a door, smooth, silver, covered in dust. A hand panel blinked weakly. Jack looked at Lyra. "It'll only open for you." Lyra stepped forward slowly. Her fingers touched the panel. It lit up green. The door hissed open. Inside, it was cold. The lights above flickered. The hallway was long and quiet, too quiet. They walked side by side. Jack checked his gun again. Lyra looked at the walls. There were faded pictures on them. Children, aliens, humans, labeled with numbers. Subjects, Jack muttered. Experiments. They passed empty rooms, each one worse than the last. One had a chair with straps and dried blood. One had jars of strange glowing organs. One had glass walls filled with fog. And inside the fog, shadows moved. Lyra shivered. "I don't want to go in." "You're not alone," Jack said. He reached into his pouch, pulled out a flare, and lit it. The red glow chased the darkness back. They reached a large chamber in the center. A glowing core, floating a machine. Alive screens turned on around them, like eyes blinking open. Suddenly, the same voice they had heard before filled the room. Cold female, machine-like. "Welcome back, Subject 9. Lyra backed away. Jack stepped in front of her. "We're shutting this place down," he said. The voice laughed. A soft, mocking sound. "You can try, but she belongs to us. She always has." The lights dimmed, then flickered. A door on the far side opened. Footsteps echoed. A figure stepped out, tall, pale, half machine, half flesh, metal fused with bone. One red eye, one empty socket. It spoke with a human voice. "Hello, Jack." Jack froze. It knew him. Lyra whispered, "What is that?" Jack's jaw tightened. "That was my commanding officer. He died 2 years ago." The thing grinned. "I didn't die," it said. "I evolved." The monster lunged forward. Ugh! Jack pushed Lyra behind a crate and fired. Bullets slammed into the thing's chest, but it didn't fall. The creature moved fast, its arm turning into a blade. Sparks flew as it sliced through machines. Jack ducked, rolled, and threw a flash bomb. It exploded, lighting the room white. For a moment, the creature staggered. Jack grabbed Lyra and ran. They didn't go far. Another door opened, and inside were her parents, alive, weak, locked inside a glass cell. Lyra cried out, "Mama, Papa." Looked up. Tears filled their eyes. Her mother touched the glass. Jack looked around for controls. "We're getting them out." But the voice returned, louder now. "Angry, you should not have come here." Suddenly, the floor opened beneath them. Jack grabbed. Lyra but fell through. Darkness. Screaming metal. They landed hard in another room. Red lights blinked. Gas hissed from the walls. Cages opened. One by one figures stepped out. Twisted, broken creatures that once were human. Now monsters. Jack stood, bleeding. "They made soldiers here," he said. They made mistakes. The monsters growled. But one of them stepped forward, looked at Lyra, and whispered in a slow, broken voice, "Little star." Lyra froze. Jack aimed up at Lyra, touched his arm. "He remembers me." The creature knelt down before her, then pointed upward, a tunnel, a way out. Jack nodded. "Let's go." But as they climbed, the ground shook. The voice screamed, "You cannot take her. She is ours. Her blood is the key." Jack turned back one last time. "Then come and get her." They reached the top. He smashed the control panel. The door sealed shut behind them. For now, above them, the black ship was descending again. The final battle hadn't started yet, but it was close. The sky broke open. The black ship hovered above, like a wound in the stars, silent, watching, waiting. Jack stood on the cliffside, his armor cracked, his arm bleeding. Lyra stood beside him, holding his hand. Her parents, weak but alive, sat behind a fallen tree, wrapped in a thermal blanket. There was nowhere left to run, no place to hide, and still. Jack smiled. Let them come. The wind picked up. Red dust blew across the stone ground. The ship above began to change shape, metal, folding outward like sharp wings. From its belly, long dark cables dropped to the earth. Machines were coming. Down, soldiers made of wire and steel, eyes like glass, movements like insects, and in the middle of them, the commander. Once human, something else. His metal boots hit the ground with a thud. He looked at Jack. "You could have walked away." The commander said, "You're not part of this. The girl is a failed weapon. One that remembers. She belongs to us." Jack raised his gun. "I don't care what she was made for. She's a child. That makes her mine to protect." The commander's eyes glowed. "Red, then die with her." The machines charged. Jack moved first. He threw an EMP grenade. It exploded in a burst of blue light. 3 machines dropped, twitching. He ran forward, grabbed one of their blades, and sliced another in half. Lyra screamed. One of the drones grabbed her arm. She looked into its glass, ease on suddenly. Something inside her snapped. She screamed not in fear, but in power. A wave of invisible force blasted out from her chest. The machine shattered into pieces. Jack saw it and blinked. What the hell was that? Lyra looked at her hands. Glowing veins ran under her skin. "I don't know," she whispered, "but it's waking up." More soldiers surrounded them. Jack fought like a man who had nothing left to lose. He moved through the chaos like lightning, protecting Lyra, blocking attacks, pulling her parents out of harm's way. His armor cracked. Blood ran down his face. Still, he stood. Lyra stayed behind him, but she was changing. The more danger came, the brighter. Her skin glowed. The more pain she felt, the more energy burst from her fingers. Her eyes turned white. The commander stepped forward. "She's not a child. She's a living key. She holds the fail-safe code in her DNA. She's the door and the weapon." Raised his gun, breathing hard, and still, "She's not yours." The commander rushed at him, blade ready. They clashed, steel against steel. Sparks flew. Jack was slower now, tired, bleeding, but he didn't fall, until the commander stabbed him through the side. Lyra screamed. No. She ran to Jack, crying. Her hands glowed with blue fire. The commander raised his blade again, but this time Jack whispered, "Lyra, remember who you are." Something inside her exploded. Light poured from her chest. The ship above froze. The machines all around stopped moving. The commander stepped back, afraid. "What are you doing?" Lyra looked up, her eyes full of light. "I'm not your weapon," she said. "I'm not your key. I'm me. She raised her hands. The sky cracked open with light. The ship began to shake. The machines screamed. Sparks flew from every drone, and then everything shut down. Silence. Jack lay on the ground. Still, Lyra crawled to him. Please. Don't go. He opened one eye and coughed. I'm not going anywhere. You kidding? I just saved the galaxy. She laughed through tears. Later, a rescue ship landed. Real one. It picked up the signal from the shutdown wave. Lyra, her parents, and Jack were taken aboard as they flew off the planet. Lyra looked down at the world that had once been her prison. She was not afraid anymore. In the ship's medbay, Jack lay in a bed, patched up. She climbed beside him and held his hand. He looked at her and smiled. So, what now, little star? He asked. Lyra leaned against his arm. Now, we go home.